billions and trillions.
Believe me. How about this idea, right? If Congress passes the health care reform bill, it will most likely be hundreds and hundreds of pages long, maybe 1,000 plus. Think lawmakers should read it before they vote on it? Colin Hanna of the group Let Freedom Ring says they should, and he's trying to hold their feet to the fire. This is his health care reform pledge. He's asking all members of Congress to sign the pledge by the end of business today. Here's what it says. I pledge to my constituents and to the American people that I will not vote to enact any health care reform package that I have not read personally in its entirety and has not been available in its entirety to the American people on the Internet for at least 72 hours so that they can read it too. Novel, we say. Colin Hanna, our guest this morning here in New York. How you doing, my friend? You're either the most popular man down there in Washington or the most hated. I'm not quite sure which it is.
It could well be both.
Okay, so you're trying to get everybody to sign up now. Who has signed it?
We have 62 signers whose names will be released as soon as I walk off this set. And then there's one more that's in the pipeline. And as the week goes on, we'll continuously update it. Everyone who is listed has signed, and we have an actual written copy of the signature and so on. We're not taking phone calls. Those whose names have not appeared have either not responded or have said no, and we're checking to make sure which it is before we actually list people as non-signers.
Okay, all right. I can appreciate that. There are 535 members of Congress.
Right.
And you got 60 people to sign it?
63.
63. Mostly Republicans, Democrats, or both?
Good question. I'm sorry to say all Republicans. I don't think that this should be seen as a partisan matter, but I think that the signals from the White House and the leadership in both the House and the Senate on the Democrat side are signaling to the American people that they really don't want the bill to be available for the people to read or even for the legislators to read. So there may not be any Democrats, although the 19 who signed a letter to Speaker Pelosi...
Whoa, hang on one second. No Democrats are going to sign this?
I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. I hope that among at least the 19 who signed that letter to Speaker Pelosi, who identified themselves as pro-life Democrats, who said they would not vote for a health care bill that compelled abortion, the same topic that Congressman Pitts addressed on your show a few minutes ago. Some of them may come on board, but it appears that the leadership is actually sending signals to the effect that they don't want the American people to see this bill. They want to rush it. That's what's behind the White House's initiative to try to get something out of the Senate this week.
Riddle me this. They're trying to get it done before the August recess, and frankly, it's a high hurdle to climb, or a high mountain to climb, whatever the adjective is that you want to use here. Now, when people say they don't want to sign it, what do they tell you? What's the reasoning? There
are lots of hedges. We often get it through staff members. I want to be sure that I'm really getting not just a staff member's reluctance to sign a pledge based on some notion that they don't like to sign pledges, but instead that the lawmaker himself or herself has looked at the pledge and said, no, I won't sign it. Well, then we will list them as non-signers, and then we'll start real publicity to try to get constituents of theirs to come after those lawmakers and say, that's not why we sent you to Congress.
They can come back and say, listen, no bill is perfect. We're working for a compromise here. This thing's 1,200 pages long. I've got the gist of it. Is that not sufficient?
I don't think it is. There are lots of complicated bills. Not every bill can, in fact, be read by every legislator every time. There's no question about that. But I think that there are certain kinds of issues that rise to a higher level of significance, where the scope and nature of the bill is so big. This is one of them. I think cap and trade was one of them. I think the stimulus was one of them, where I think we have a minimum standard of due diligence.
And you're a big believer in just the act of doing this will raise the awareness among the American people.
Absolutely.
And you can find that at www.pledgetoread.com, right?
And the names will be listed as soon as I walk off the set this morning.
I don't know if they turn around and walk away from you down there, or whether or not they're coming up to embrace you, Colin, but thank you for your time today, okay?
Thank you.
You got it. Megan?
Unbelievable.